Just absolutely delighted that you have chosen to check in with this edition of a Pastor Marc Devotional. I want to think with you in this installment about the depth of your well. Now, there are probably a few of you watching, not many, who have a well on your property from which you can draw water. But that's really not the well I'm talking about today. There'll be a reference to that. We're going to talk about that kind of a well in the Bible today. I'm talking about your spiritual well. How deep is your spirit? Is there a reserve way down in there that even when it gets dry at the surface, there is that life-giving drink spiritually that keeps you charged, recharged, energized, and equipped to face the challenges of today? One of the great stories of the Bible is found in the 4th chapter of John. The Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples. So Jesus is moving about. And he had to pass through Samaria. The Jews, remember, were very exclusive, very proud, regarding themselves as the chosen people. And Samaria was just one of many regions where people were looked down upon, almost in a xenophobic way. And so the fact that Jesus was even seen going through Samaria was going to get him in trouble. And he came to a city in Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. And there came a woman of Samaria to draw water because he had come to a well there. And Jesus gets into a dialogue with her. It's as if Jesus knew the opportunity to be in relationship with someone in a transforming way was right in front of him. So he asks her to give him a drink. For the disciples had gone away into the city to buy food, so it's just the two of them. I have a beautiful artistic caricature of it here, of Jesus sitting on the edge of the well, and look at the big water. The women had to carry water during that day. It was a tremendous weight, and over the years it had a debilitating and sad, almost abusive quality to their frame and their posture. But there's that big thing. You get that thing loaded with water, and it is a heavy weight. But the Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask me for a drink, a woman of Samaria? For Jews have no dealings with us." You can just hear the inferiority complex and the curiosity coming out. And Jesus goes into this little explanation about a water that is different. A water that is described as living water. It's a water, a reference to that means far more than just the drink or the water you're going to carry off that will sustain you for a while. He's talking about the spiritual well, a spiritual relationship that gives value, advocacy, purpose, strength, all the dimensions of love to our lives that can only come when we know God through Jesus Christ. How is your well? And the answer to that question may well be having a profound impact on how we're doing moving through this very challenging time we're facing as a culture, as well as the strength and the difference that we will experience at the end of it versus who we were coming in. I get lots of feedback on everything we're doing during this time because it's different. And I get feedback in ministry. You better get used to that because you're going to get some criticism. You're going to get some negative feedback. You're going to get some positive feedback. You're going to get a lot of love and adoration. And sometimes people will love and adore you one week. The next week they're mad at you because they didn't like what you did that didn't meet their need that day. So it was just lousy. And they're often very willing to tell you that. But in this feedback right now during this unusual time, I'm hearing folks that have a lot of wants and needs that they think the church should be providing for them. And we're here to provide ministry. That's why we're here. It's why I'm called. That's why we strive so hard to do what we can. But as staff and pastors, our plate is pretty full right now, because what used to be simply done now takes intentional effort, time, preparation, production, getting volunteers to come and do music, for example, participate in worship, lead us, requires their availability as well as social distancing requirements. Is not as easy as you might think. And creative stuff like getting children and youth and adults to record from something from home puts a production burden on that also requires time. And I hear people saying they want more for youth or kids, or want more Bible study from me. And I understand those things, and I don't in any way want to invalidate that, because where there's a need, it shows there's desire, and that desire is good. But remember, your mom and dad can't run along the side of your bicycle all your life, holding you up. At some point, you got to learn to balance and ride the bicycle yourself. Mother birds will push their offspring out of the nest to plunge to their death. But it's that plunge that allows their instinctive nature as a bird to spread their wings and learn to fly. As churches, especially in the culture we live in, it is so easy to get into the consumer mindset of being externally fed. That's a big part of the ingredient, but part of the ingredient of that deep spiritual well is also what you provide for yourself. Because as I deal with feedback and sometimes criticism, anybody who's in leadership, whether you're a pastor or not, you better learn to encourage yourself and find that from a spiritual nature, or you'll get drugged down. The same is true with what we provide for ourselves spiritually. How can we feed ourselves spiritually from our own deep well? Are we sitting down with our youth right now as families and providing for them spiritual and biblical instruction, or is that all to be done by somebody else? Are we doing the same with our younger children, or is that somebody else's job that we hire done the way we do our yard maintenance? These are serious questions, because we have often talked in the collaboration of leading our church and moving forward how alarming and demoralizing it has been over the years to at times see seasons of our church's life where the place has just been packed with all kinds of children and youth. And yet when they graduate out, they disappear. And where do their parents go? Was what they were getting here feeding their own soul so that they had a deep spiritual well, or were they just here to see that their kids got fed? When we offer the chance to testify, so to speak, or witness to your faith, or talk about where you've experienced God, and people just look at the floor and there's no response, could it be that they can't offer a witness because they have no realization of where God has been, because no one has ever taught them how to do it? I suggest it's a common problem at St. John the Apostle, in the United Methodist Church, and in the United States of America, and many other faith expressions. Hence, the emphasis on deepened spirituality is lived in discipleship, invitation, and community. In this time of adjustment, not just inconvenience, but real adjustment, it's time that we take a look again at what it means to take a drink of that living water and see that we have that well that is deepening all the time, so that we will have something not only to nourish our own soul, but to share with others. Let what is done for you lead to what you can do in your own relationship with God through Christ, and watch that well replenish, just the way that groundwater replenishes a natural well. And may this challenge be a great blessing. Thank you for thinking with me today.